Imagine yourself standing in the ancient desert before Jericho's dawn-mist walls, where a woman despised by society rewrote history. How could a prostitute, shunned and whispered about behind closed doors, become an ancestor of Jesus Christ? This is the untold story of Rahab, a biblical woman whose faith, courage, and grace intertwined to prove that no one is beyond God's redemption. Join us as we explore her journey from the shadows of sin to the brilliance of glory. Subscribe and ring the notification bell so you never miss inspiring stories like this. Deep within ancient Jericho, beneath towering walls so wide that chariots could thunder along their crest, a woman named Rahab lived under society's contempt. By night, the city's air grew tight, almost choking as though the very stones whispered of impending doom. A prostitute, Rahab endured the town's icy stares each time she stepped outside. Her house, built straight into the wall, stayed bolted by day, yet swung open beneath the moon for the same hypocrites who scorned her. The people of Jericho, proud and complacent, believed their city unassailable. They worshipped idols of wood and stone, offered up savage sacrifices, and reveled in luxury while their souls lay hollow. They mocked the notion that any god could topple their fortress, insisting their false deities would shield them forever. But Rahab was not like them. Inside her bloomed a small, persistent flame of hope. She had heard stories drifting in with merchants and travelers, tales of Israel and the God they served. A God who parted the Red Sea, led his people through a merciless wilderness, and crushed mighty kings such as Sihon and Og. To Rahab, these reports were more than rumors. They were lights slicing through the darkness of her life. She believed the God of Israel was real, though her eyes had never seen him. Deep down, she yearned for something greater, meaning far beyond Jericho's emptiness, beyond her long, lonely nights and the townspeople's venomous whispers. Yet Rahab remained an outsider, defined by her past and her trade. She knew Jericho despised her, branding her with cruel names, but they could not see the seed of faith stirring within. Each night, standing at her window and gazing over the vast desert, she asked herself, could someone like her, cast off by society, chained to sin, find a road that led to God? She had no answer, though her heart insisted the God of Israel was unlike the city's lifeless idols. He was the one who could rewrite destinies. Little did she know that, on this very night, her destiny would be forever altered. A soft knock broke the stillness. Two strangers stood at her threshold, eyes alert, wary of every shadow. They were no regular patrons, no traveling traders. Rahab met their gaze and understood at once. They were men of Israel, the very people Jericho feared. What would she do? Hand them over for the king's reward or risk everything on the fragile faith burning inside her? Rahab's story, one of the Bible's most remarkable women, had only just begun, and what follows will hold you spellbound. Night has fallen over Jericho, a thick darkness shrouding the city's sinful secrets. Inside a small house built into the massive wall, Rahab stands at the window, her gaze sweeping across the endless desert. Guards patrol the towering ramparts, their footsteps echoing. The air feels tight, strung like a cord about to snap. All Jericho is on high alert. Rumors of the Israelite army, led by an all-powerful God, have thrown the people into panic. They have bolted the gates, letting no one in or out, trusting that their invincible walls will save them. Yet Rahab, the woman society scorns, shares none of their pride. Her heart pounds not with fear, but with a secret certainty. The God of Israel is real, and he is drawing near. Suddenly, a soft knock slices through the night. Rahab startles, fingers clutching her cloak. She unlatches the door. There stand two strangers, eyes sharp, wary of every shadow. They wear no merchant's robe, carry none of Jericho's arrogance. In an instant, Rahab knows they are Israelite spies, the very men the city hunts. To Jericho, they are a threat, saboteurs bent on toppling the fortress. But Rahab sees something else. In their eyes, she senses the presence of the God she trusts in silence. Her heartbeat quickens, as though the Lord himself is testing her. A fierce battle flares inside her mind. She faces a life or death choice. If she hands the men to Jericho's king, she will be rewarded. Silver, favor, perhaps even an escape from her despised life. Yet what is the price of that betrayal? She would turn her back on the budding faith she clings to, on the one true God. The other path is to hide them. If discovered, she will dying, and maybe her family with her. Time seems to freeze. Each second drops heavy as a hammer. Deep within, Rahab's fragile faith overcomes her terror. She signals for silence, pulls the men inside, and leads them to the roof. There she hurriedly tucks them beneath stalks of drying flax, layering the bundles until they vanish. Their breath mingles with the darkness, but danger still prowls nearby. Barely minutes pass before heavy boots pound the alley. A thunderous fist shakes the door. "Rahab, open up!" the king's soldiers roar, voices edged with menace. "We know Israelite spies came here. Hand them over if you want to live." Rahab's heart thumps so loudly she fears they will hear it. She feels the spies' ragged breaths beneath the flax. Once more she confronts fear, but faith carries her through. Drawing a slow breath, she composes herself and unlatches the door. Her eyes are cool, her voice astonishingly calm. "Yes, men did visit," she says, "but they left at dusk just before the gates shut. They headed toward the Jordan. If you hurry, you may overtake them." The lie flows smoothly, as though God himself places the words on her tongue. The soldiers eye her with suspicion, yet urgency drives them. They turn and plunge into the night after a quarry that does not exist. Rahab closes the door and leans against the wall, breath coming hard. She has survived the first test, but her heart is heavy. Hiding these spies is not merely reckless. It is the opening step on a path the Lord is charting. She climbs to the roof, facing the men she just saved. "I know that the Lord your God has given this land to you," she whispers, voice trembling with emotion. "All of us are melting with fear because of him. Swear to me that you will spare my family." Will their promise be enough to shield her when Jericho meets God's wrath? Rahab's story, one of the Bible's most remarkable women, has reached a fateful turning point. Night shrouds Jericho, its darkness thick enough to swallow every secret of the sinful city. On Rahab's rooftop, only the faint moonlight lays weak silver streaks across piles of drying flax. Beneath those bundles, 2 Israelite spies lie motionless, breath rasping in the shadows, hidden by Rahab's quick thinking. Inside the small house built into Jericho's walls, her heart hammers, each beat a silent prayer to the God she has never met yet has chosen to trust. Soldiers' heavy footfalls echo in the narrow lane below, every step a hammer raised over her fate. Then a thunderous knock rattles the door. "Rahab, open up!" The king's men roar, voices cold, lethal. "We know the Israelite scouts are here. Turn them over or die." Rahab stiffens, fingers clutching her cloak as time seems to freeze. Discovery would cost not only her life, but her family's. Yet from deep within rises a power stronger than fear, her faith in Israel's God. It is no vague notion, it is the flame guiding her through this darkness. Drawing a deep breath, she steadies herself and opens the door. Facing the snarling soldiers, her gaze does not waver. With astonishing poise, she speaks, voice calm and firm. "Yes, 2 men did visit, but I did not know who they were. At dusk, just before the gate closed, they left the city, headed toward the Jordan River. If you hurry, you may overtake them." The lie flows smooth as if God himself placed it on her lips. Suspicion glints in the soldiers' eyes, yet urgency leaves no room for doubt. They whirl away and plunge into the night, chasing ghosts. Rahab shuts the door and leans back against the wall, lungs burning as though she has sprinted across the desert. She has crossed a razor's edge, and her heartbeat is driven not merely by terror, but by an uncanny certainty. She is walking the path God has set. She climbs to the roof, pulls aside the flax, and faces the spies. Tears shimmer as she whispers, voice trembling with awe. "I know the Lord has given this land to you. We have heard of the Red Sea, of the kings you conquered. Our hearts melt with fear. Your Lord is God in heaven above and on earth below." Her confession is more than belief. It is a bold declaration, a turning point in her life. Rahab, the scorned woman, now stands as a living witness to God's power. But she does not stop there. Kneeling, voice urgent, she pleads, "I saved your lives. Swear that when you take this land, You will spare my family, my father, my mother, my brothers, everyone I love." Respect fills the spies' eyes. They nod. "Our lives for yours. Tie a scarlet cord in this window. That sign will protect you." Rahab rises, finds a crimson cord, and knots it to the window frame. It flutters softly in the night breeze. More than a mark, it is a pledge of salvation. Echoing the Passover lamb's blood, a symbol of grace and divine protection. Hope sparks within her. She does not know what tomorrow brings, yet she trusts that the God who split the Red Sea will honor his promises to her. The spies prepare to leave, ready to report to Joshua. Rahab lowers them down the city wall with a rope. Their figures vanish into the darkness. Alone on the rooftop, moonlight bathes her face. Her courage and wisdom have saved those men. But her choice also seals a new destiny. She has cast her lot with the Lord, no matter the risk. Will the scarlet cord truly shield her when Jericho faces God's wrath? Rahab's story is racing toward a dramatic climax. Dawn of the seventh day blazes over Jericho, yet the air hangs heavy, foretelling a storm. For 6 days, the Israelites have marched around the city in silence, only the steady rhythm of their footsteps and their unwavering gaze breaking the hush. The people of Jericho, once proud behind their impregnable walls, now tremble. They have heard of the God of Israel, the one who split the Red Sea, who toppled mighty kings, and now he stands at their gates. Inside the small house built into the wall, Rahab grips the scarlet cord knotted to her window frame. That cord, token of a salvation sworn, flutters in the morning breeze, a flame of hope in the dark. Her father, mother, and brothers huddle around her, eyes a mix of worry and trust. Rahab has told them about the spies, the oath, the God she believes will keep his word. But as the ground begins to quiver, her own heart wavers. Will that promise be strong enough to save them from the wrath on its way? Suddenly, the trumpets of Israel pierce the sky, a blast that tears the stillness apart. Their unified shout ripples across the desert. The earth cracks, the colossal walls, the pride of Jericho, splinter. Screams of panic ring out as stone shatters and dust clouds blot the sun. Battlements wide enough for chariots crumble into heaps of rubble. The citizens who trusted in lifeless idols flee in despair, yet nowhere is safe. Chaos reigns. Cries mingle with the roar of collapsing rock. Rahab clutches her mother as shockwaves pulse through the floor. She stares at the scarlet cord, wondering if it truly marks them for rescue. Hand in hand, her family prays to the God Rahab has dared to trust. Amid that whirlwind of destruction, her house alone stands as if held by an unseen hand. Through choking dust, 2 figures cut across the ruins, eyes scanning with urgent purpose. The Israelite spies have returned, not to fight, but to keep their oath. "Rahab," they shout above the din. "We've come for you!" Hearing her name, Rahab's heart bursts with relief. She thrusts open the door, gathering her family close. The spies spot the scarlet cord, still vivid amid the gray haze, a beacon in the rubble. They guide Rahab and her loved ones through stone-strewn streets, past the anguished cries of Jericho's people. Every step feels like a miracle, God himself clearing a path. Reaching the outskirts, Rahab glances back. Jericho, her lifelong home, is now ashes. Yet she feels no loss, only deliverance. The scarlet cord has done its work, marking her household with grace. But Rahab's final testing is not over. Safe beyond the Israelite camp, she finds herself still an outsider. Some Hebrews eye her with suspicion. "A Canaanite from Jericho," they whisper. "How can we trust her?" The chill of those looks echoes the contempt she once knew inside the city's walls. She refuses to let their doubts shake her faith. Standing tall, gaze steady, she knows God did not rescue her to leave her in old shadows. She squeezes her parents' hands, comforts her brothers, and prays. She believes the Lord who brought down walls will open a new road for her. Divine justice has triumphed, not only for Israel, but for Rahab, who dared to trust God when the world turned away. Yet will she be accepted among his people? Is her journey finished, or does God still hold a greater purpose? Rahab's story draws near a breathtaking conclusion. Twilight settles over the desert, a soft gold bathing Israel's camp in calm after Jericho's ruin. Rahab stands amid the clustered tents, fingers woven with those of her father, mother and brothers. Hope blazes in her eyes. She has escaped the rubble of a sinful city, guided to safety by the spies. Yet her journey is far from over. At first, she and her family live on the camp's fringe, still viewed as outsiders. Some whisper behind her back, "She's the prostitute from Jericho. How can we trust her?" The words reopen old wounds, but Rahab refuses to let them define her. The faith that carried her through the darkest nights now burns like a torch lighting the road ahead. She squares her shoulders, gaze steady, certain that the God who kept his scarlet cord promise will never abandon her. Little by little, the Israelites begin to see Rahab differently. They notice something rare, a woman who dared trust God when all Jericho mocked him. Her courage in hiding the spies and facing the king's soldiers spreads like a wonder tale through the tents. She is no longer Rahab the harlot, but Rahab the faithful, the woman God chose. Among those who discern the light in her is Salmon, a prince of the tribe of Judah. He looks beyond her past and sees the steadfast faith and wisdom that saved her entire family. With deep respect and growing love, Salmon asks Rahab to be his wife. The woman once despised now becomes an honored bride, stepping into a new life under God's grace. From that union, Rahab bears a son named Boaz. Years later, Boaz marries Ruth, another soul of fierce faith, and their line continues through generations until it reaches King David, Israel's great ruler. Yet the story stretches further still. Through David's lineage, the day comes when Jesus Christ, the Redeemer of all humanity, is born. Rahab, once deemed the lowest in Jericho, becomes an ancestress of the Messiah, woven into God's grand design of salvation. From the shadows of sin, she walks into the light of redemption, proof that no past is too dark, no person too far for God's mercy to reach. Rahab's story resonates today, especially with Americans who prize justice and second chances. She stands as living evidence that faith can rewrite destiny, no matter where you begin. Have you ever felt like an outsider, defined by mistakes or the past? Rahab reminds us God does not see us through the world's lens. He sees the heart, and through faith, he can fold us into his larger story. Think back to times you felt unworthy. God is still ready to write a new chapter for you, just as he did for Rahab. Though this tale draws to a close, its message endures. God's grace is enough to change everything. If you feel inspired, hit subscribe and share your own story. How has God rewritten your destiny? We're eager to hear.